So we're starting this video off a little bit different. I am actually on my way to meet with Brent's shop manager for the mill side. His name's Stuart, and we're gonna meet at this job over here. I'm not really 100% sure what it is, but they need someone to do it, so I thought I would take a look. And I just recently took off time to work on my house, to do all the stuff from the last few videos. But here's the dilemma that you find yourself in, is like, you want to work on your own house, but to do that, it takes money. So to earn money, you need to be working. But when you're working, you don't have time to work on your own house. And that's the dilemma that I've found myself in for the past year, which is why I was talking in those videos about how I just feel like I haven't done anything. It's because every time work calls, I don't know how to say no. And especially now that it's whole calling, it's like these jobs are so awesome, you just can't turn them down. So that barn project, this one possibly, we'll find out. But I'm gonna go look at this one and see if it's something I'm capable of, and see if it's something that I can handle, that John and I can handle. And real quick, I wanna let you guys know this video is sponsored by Passion for Craft. That's our new project. I wanna say thanks to everyone who has signed up so far. It's been so awesome interacting with you guys over there on a more personal level, and the community is already building up. It's awesome. Brent just released his first page from his curated library, his massive historical library, The Lost Art of Building.
I think it makes you better. And if you study these books, you become a better builder, a better craftsman.
I'll be booking my first FaceTime calls with you guys this week, who are at that master level. And I want to say thanks to everyone who has also given us feedback on the podcast.
I was just thinking MDF dentures.
I knew when I said that, he was smiling to himself.
The podcast is early accessible on that page over there. It'll release on YouTube for free later, about a month behind. So head on over there, check it out. Tons of benefits for you guys over there. And now back to the video.
I just want to know what buildmanship is.
Made up word.
And we are pulling up to the house right now. And there it is. All right guys, so that job looks pretty interesting. Tons of paneling, awesome ceiling, some wrapping of metal posts and stuff. What it is essentially is they're gonna have white oak planks on the ceiling, solid white oak beams going across those planks. Basically from there down is gonna be that paneling detail, and there's some ornate carving and stuff like that. So yeah, we're definitely gonna help them out. All right, I got 5 more working days at my house now. I gotta get some stuff done, guys. Like, I gotta hit it hard. The thing about it is though, I've got a lot of stuff that I need to line out, and a lot of items that I need for my house aren't even here. I'm a bad project manager when it comes to my own house. It's kind of like that thing where, yeah, it's always gonna be there, so you can eventually get to it. And that's really what's gotten me into the mess that I'm in. I really need to be proactive and just take a whole day and start ordering stuff that I know I'm gonna need to install, because once it's there, then I can make it work really good. And this seat belt is broken. There we go, because I was pushing the brake actually. Back over here at the house, if you remember the last video, we sprayed this white oak door, set up this booth and everything, and I used that new finish. At least it's new to us. It's that Renner. It's a 2-part, so you have your finish and your catalyst, or catalyzer, whatever it's called. And this is what's left over. So you can see how that looks, like a big blob there. And this is the next morning after spraying this door. I mixed up way more than I needed, because when you're spraying through an airless sprayer like this, you kind of gotta have more than enough to feed it here and then to run through the hose as well. So that's kind of the unfortunate part about this. Spraying one door and these little moldings here, it'd be nice for me to get like an HVLP, just gravity fed thing, where I can mix up smaller batches, because this stuff is not cheap. And this is what the can looks like, if you guys are interested. It's the Renner wood coatings. Pretty awesome. My friend told me about them. But if you saw that video, you know I had a horrible mistake that I did. I sprayed my pattern overlap like too thick on my stiles and rails, and I had this massive just blemish right here in this top corner. But check this out now. This right here has basically corrected itself. If you look hard enough, you can kind of see some difference in coloration, but compared to what it was, it's nothing like what it looked like yesterday. Once that dried finally, you can see that it doesn't have that discoloration anymore. It's slightly there, but you really have to look for it. And at this point, I'm just gonna let that ride and try to never make that mistake again. So this whole door build is pretty much ready to go. Hinges, hardware, and glass are all in the way, so we could tear this booth down and move on to the next thing. All right, so the next order of business here is going to be actually building these sashes for this casement window unit. Now this unit is going in the laundry room. I did not show you guys how to build this jamb, but I will be showing you because I'm gonna be making this exact same unit, but bigger for this opening back here. So another thing I want to point out here before we get started is a casement window is the easiest style of window to build. That's one of the reasons I went with this style to get started. Another reason is I really like casements. So I built this whole unit and I'm going to build these sashes based off this drawing right here. So if you look at this, this is a cross-section bird's eye view looking at a casement style window. You can see it says details of a casement window, and I copied this exactly. So you got your jamb leg right there, that's this piece. The other jamb leg on the left side, that's this piece. You can see the sash sitting in there. I've got this stop milled into it, and style, Muntin style. So really basic build, just looking at this. The hardest part of this was building this step sill. I kind of just had to figure that out on my own and mess around on angles on the table saw. But I bring that up to say this is a great window to start with, and that's why I'm doing it. So the first thing I'm going to do is run my rails across my cope cutting bit. This is a reverse image of the actual profile bit, and only the rails receive this profile. And this is a 3/4 inch rabbet bit here that allows for that whole profile to recess into the rails. So again, only the rails would receive this bit. And this is an amazing setup. I get really clean results, as you can see right there. And it took me a long time to dial this in right where I wanted it. But now that it's set up, it's like a dream. And at this point, I can run all parts across my profiling bit on one side only. And this would be the inside of the sash. So that's kind of the profile there that you'll see inside each divided light. Really traditional profile. And again, all pieces receive this on one side, except for Muntins, those receive it on both sides. But we'll get to that later. So once I have all my pieces milled with that profile on one side, I can then move over to the rabbeting bit, and the rabbet allows for the glass to sit down on the back side of that profile, so it creates a recess to sit up against. And another thing it does is it creates a notch to fall into place with the reverse image of those first bits that we passed. You'll see how this goes together whenever I do the dry fit and assembly. So once I have all those rabbets run across those boards, then I can take them to the table and do a quick dry fit to make sure everything checks out. So the rails get sandwiched in between the stiles, and I'll get these clamped up for the dry fit and just check out and inspect. Everything looks good, nice cope cuts where they meet up, nice flushness at stile and rail meeting points. So these get the thumbs up of approval. All right guys, this is a big moment for us. This is our first window sash clamped together. This is awesome. Everything's checking out. Our dimensions as far as height and width are good to go. This is 1 3/4 is what we milled this to, and this is Spanish cedar, by the way. There's one thing I realized though when I clamp this up, I'll flip it over. You can look on the back side. There's one of those profiles I run through is the glass stop. So it creates this rabbet right here. I did not run that on my two rails. So that all I have to do is just unclamp this, run these two, and then we'll have that glass stop all the way around. But this is amazing. Like, I'm so happy that I bought those 4 routers. Like, people were like, what, 4 routers? But when you see how efficient you can build 2 sashes like that, that took probably 10 minutes. Like, this is crazy. So here's the joint that we're using. We've got this profile here, which is like the reverse cope cut, I guess you would say, of what you see here, the actual profile, and that copes it in. And then we have that 3/4 inch rabbet bit just taking out enough for the depth of this profile. And this is also obviously the same profile as our Muntins, but when those come together, you get a nice crispy joint right there. That'll get glued right there clamped together, and it'll also get the domino like that. This one may actually be a little chunky. No, that's probably good. I just have to adjust the domino cutter for not as deep. But yeah, that's almost coming out on this side when you split it evenly. And a lot of sashes traditionally would have had what's called a through tenon. However, I don't really want to highlight that I'm using these dominoes here. There's nothing wrong with that, but I just kind of want it to be, you know, you don't see anything around the edge. You will see though, however, it's going to be hard to see, but our plugs for the muntins. So that's the next thing we're going to do. We're going to make muntins. So I'll have just one vertical muntin going this way and then one going this way. So when we screw those in, like I did for the white oak door, you'll see it, we'll cut a little plug and plug that in. So again, that's not the traditional way you would do this either. However, this is the efficient way I'm going to do it, and I think that I'm definitely still going to get the same look. I'm just using kind of more modern construction techniques. So normally those would all be tenoned into each other. I will get there one day. I just would like to have a little bit more machinery. So for my muntin layout here, I'm just going to have one vertical and one horizontal. So I'll draw this out real quick. We've got our window here, our sash, and then we're going to have these muntins going this way. So I've got this clamped up here, and I've got flushness on both ends here. All I have to do now is take my tape, stretch it across here, and I've got 29 3/4 for the vertical. Across here, it's exactly what our rails are, that's right. So it's 11 13/16. So I can write that down too. Yeah, you can see I actually already had that written down. That's going to be the exact same, because basically it's like a mid rail. It's just a much thinner mid rail called a muntin. So 11 13/16. And where I'm measuring here, I'll show you guys on this. There's that lip of that profile right there. So right on that lip is where the piece would engage. So that's where you would take your measurement from. So whenever I measure this, I'm just basically putting it right up against that. So I'm going to start with my vertical muntin first. So the first thing I'm going to do for these muntins is cut a piece of wood to the exact length that they need to be, and then I can run it through my cope cutting bit and my rabbiting bit. And this is basically going to be the same technique that I use to make the stiles and rails. I'm starting with a wider than needed board to make those cope and rabbit cuts, so I don't have to make them on such thin pieces. And I set these up to 3/4 inch muntins. You can imagine those thin pieces, running them through those bits. That wouldn't be fun. So once I have them cut out on the table saw, I can go ahead and run those profile bits. And the only difference is I run the profile and rabbit bit on both sides, because since they are the muntins and they're encapsulated in the sash basically, they need to have that detail on both sides for the profile and for the glass recess. So we've got our two muntin bars, vertical ones for both sashes on this French casement, and I've taken the sash back apart out of the clamps, and I went ahead and ran it through that little glass stop profile. So now everything is milled and ready to go. And then we can take our muntin here, our vertical muntin, and then get it in place. And it should just sandwich in here. Just like that. Yeah, that is gonna work good. Looks like it's the correct length. Nice tight fit. Everything checks out. So we've got our vertical muntins made. These things are looking super awesome. And the next thing we gotta do is make our horizontal muntins. However, that is gonna be in the next video when we actually assemble these. I'll show you guys how to make those muntins. I haven't decided yet if I'm gonna do the intersecting half flap miter like we did on our white oak door here. So remember, this is a solid piece across, and these are solid pieces. And that was a very technical joint. I do know how to do it now, but I've also seen where this is a solid piece and these two right here are individual pieces that span across. The problem with that is, since we're not using mortise and tenon joinery to attach these muntins, we're using screws. we have no way to attach it here other than pins. I have seen people do that as well, where they just pin in the muntin bars. I don't feel super confident in that, but I think as long as there's a screw, at least on these sides, because there will be here on the stiles, then we should be good to go. However, we're not going to get into that in this video because I actually got a call. I got to go take care of some administrative stuff. They told me that the glass for this door, they cannot temper glass this small, or this small. So that means these three right here and those three at the bottom are not able to be tempered. I've got to go get those salvaged. So they are providing me with these three big sheets in the midsection for tempered. And I guess those are kind of the important ones. I feel like if anything was to break and like shatter or whatever, it would be these big ones. These small ones really wouldn't be too dangerous. They were telling me, like I told them, can you just sell me sheets of glass this big? And they said, since it's going in a door, we cannot sell you just regular glass. We have to sell you tempered glass. And I said, what if I walk out the door, come back in and tell you, can I just buy 3 sheets of glass this size? They kind of looked at me like confused. I'm like, I'm the customer. Can I just buy glass? Who cares what I do with it? They're like, no, since you told us it was going in the door, we have them. Just whatever. So at least they're getting me these 3, and that should cut that cost down by about half, because they were charging me $40 for this little square. So it's like 40. So that's those, and then this middle one was like 60 or so. It was crazy. So I'm still paying for these though. Anyways, guys, I gotta go take care of that stuff, order some more products for the projects we got going on here, and see what's going on with that job from this morning. So we're gonna wrap it up here. Next video, hopefully, we'll be assembling these, but this is a big moment. We created our first sash, and we'll see you guys on the next video.